What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with a vintage Kenner Star Wars loose graded market update. We've got UKG, AFA, and CAS loose graded figures. And I thought for this one we would take a look at fairly common figures. And is the premise that fairly common figures are kind of dropping in price? Well, yes and no. I would say that there were some auctions in this batch that went a little bit higher than I expected, and maybe it's just my imagination, but they seem to go a lot higher than where some of the recent sales have been for fairly common items. So nothing in this batch is particularly rare. Some of the grades are rare. Some of the grades are very, very high, and that might have been the biggest driver as to why the final sales price was what they were. But I think it's kind of a fun exercise to only look at fairly common items and just see how the market is holding up for those common items. First up, we've got some UKG graded Farm Boys, as well as an AFA graded Farm Boy. This first one is a Taiwan, so a little bit tougher to find the Taiwan. Very, very dark pants, kind of tannish pants. This was graded UKG 80%, straight 80s for the sub score, and it did have the brand new K style. Nice looking figure. I like that kind of dark brown or dark tannish, dark brown pant color. And in general, a pretty good looking figure. This is kind of got the mascara look, is what I call it, with the very heavy paint applications to the eyebrows and eyes. But a very clean looking figure. That one sold for a buy it now for 250 pounds, which is $312 US. Now you compare it to this one. This is the no COO brown hair. So this would be like on Palatoys or Tri Logos. A little bit tougher to find this one than the Taiwan. This one was graded UKG 80 as well. Now, this one did have the older case style, so keep that in mind. It's a little bit blockier, not quite as nice of a presentation as those brand new cases from UKG, which I would argue are probably the best on the market. I mean, they are just really, really nice cases. So, again, you know, that probably held the price down just a little bit as well. This was down in Australia. It sold for 311 Australian dollars, which is 207 US dollars. I think that was a pretty good price as well, especially if you were in Australia. That's a pretty good bargain, I think, for a no COO brown-haired Luke. And then finally, we had an AFA 85 Hong Kong blonde hair. So one of the more common variants, if not the most common variant for Luke Farm Boy. But it was very high grade, archival case, brand new case style, AFA 85, lot going on for it. And that price was surprising, though. I didn't expect it to sell for this much. 500 pounds, which is 625 US dollars. Would it go for this amount in an auction in the US? Maybe. It might. You know, it is an archival case with an 85 grade from AFA. Very tough to get 85s these days for Luke Farm Boys, just given how easily the white on those figures can discolor. But nevertheless, it did sell for 500 pounds, which is 625 US dollars. I think this is the last UKG graded item, but it's a UKG 90% Toll Toys mail away Neon. So as you can see there, it's got the Australian address on the box. This one did not come with the catalog. Some of them came with a catalog, some of them did not. My Toll Toys Forlom is the same way, no catalog inside. So, you know, I don't know if some of them came with it, some of them didn't. That was the case for a lot of US release stuff. But nice looking item. It sat on the market for a long time. It was on the market for a very long time here in the US. But it's a beautiful item, and it sold for 500 US dollars plus $12.45 shipping. I mean, it's been on the market for at least 2 or 3 months, and it finally did sell for $500. So nice looking example. UKG 90% for this Neon Numb Toll Toys mail away. Some loose graded droids. We've got an AFA 85 R5D4. This is the 1978 variation, the easiest one to find, the Hong Kong. And it was a gorgeous figure. I mean, these photos, often when you have really nice high-res, crisp photos like this, that tends to help the sales price. And this one was definitely case freshly. It was a gorgeous looking R5D4. That one sold for $350. Plus $750 shipping. Same seller, I believe, also had this one, which was an 80 plus solid dome R2D2 Hong Kong. That one sold for $325. That one seems a little high to me. We just documented another 80 plus grade R2D2 solid dome Hong Kong. Exact same figure, exact same grade, same brand new case style that sold for $268. So this one went a little bit higher, but $325 plus $10 shipping on that one. And then here was a sensor scope AFA 85 R2D2. So the later release, again, the brand new case style, that one sold for $389. $389. That's a big number to me. I picked up an AFA 80 for $100 at the last toy convention last year, but admittedly it's an 85, and it's certainly a nice looking figure. It looks every bit of an 85. The sticker looks pretty good, although there is a little scuff there on the front of that sticker, and maybe some slight blemishes to the dome. But $389 seems a little high to me, but it is what it is. I mean, people are going to pay what they want to pay, and that was a buy it now. So that factor that in for a lot of these prices. If it's a buy it now, you never know who's buying, or if they're impatient and they just want to add it and they're willing to pay 10 or 20% more. So, but where possible, I tried to include auctions towards the end of this video. Here was an AFA 85 Sand People, Hong Kong. I'm a little bit stuffed up again. I apologize. This one sold for $499.99. Brand new case style, but this is a very common figure, so I was really shocked by that sales price, $500. I would argue in an auction that it would probably sell for about half that, $250 to $275, somewhere in that ballpark. But it was a beautiful figure, but $500 seems awfully high to me, and this is a case where I think you got to be patient and wait for an auction. Now, this was a lot of two. It was an AFA 90 Brown Snake Yoda, which is always very desirable, and an AFA 85 plus solid limbs, so not the removable limbs, C-3PO. Archival cases for both, 85 plus and a 90 for the Yoda. So very, very high grades. And I actually think that this price may not be too far off if this had been in an auction. This one did also sell in a buy it now situation for 750 pounds, which is $938 US plus shipping on that. So again, high grades equals big money, and usually a multiple thereof versus an 85 or an 80 plus. And that's certainly the case with this one. We all know that the Brown Snake Yodas go for big money. But, I would say a 90 Yoda in an auction, Brown Snake, would probably sell $450 to $500. That's my rough guess. I don't know. But the solids, the solid limbs, 85 plus archival case for C-3PO, tough one. I would guess at least 300. So you're probably talking 850, in that ballpark, if these were sold separately in an auction. Again, I could be wrong. It all depends on who's looking for that particular day when that auction ends. But so it's not too far off. It's probably a little high, but probably not too far off of market value. Several different no COO Stormtroopers sold, and it was just interesting how it all worked out. But two of them were the same seller, and then another seller had one as well. They were all 80 plus grade AFA brand new case tile. So very interesting. But this seller had two of them. This one, admittedly, I would say that was not as nice as the other one, and the price reflected that. It did have a little scuff there on the leg, and maybe it's just me, but there's, the limbs do look quite a bit darker than the torso for this figure, which is a common problem. But it was an 80 plus, no COO, so these would appear on Tri-Logos or Palatoys. That one sold for $111, 10 bids. But again, the same seller had another one that looked a lot cleaner. That one sold for $147.50. That one ended the same day and everything. Again, it wasn't perfect, but I'm trying to get some photos here. It wasn't perfect. You can see maybe a little scuff right there, but the limbs on this one were not nearly as dark versus the torso, although it is there. I mean, you can see it, and that's probably why it got the 80 plus. But this one was much cleaner, and it did sell for, let's call it 20 to 25% more than this one. But you're kind of nitpicking, I guess. But both of those sold, same seller, 111 versus 147, and then this seller, Brown's 8888. He always has really nice figures and takes good photos. So this one did sell a lot higher. It was, again, a no COO Stormtrooper 80 plus brand new case style. But the limbs on this one did look particularly nice. Again, I don't know if this seller modified the photos at all, but it did look quite a bit cleaner and much closer to the torso color. It still wasn't perfect, and why it got the 80 plus, you can see a little bit of kind of like paint defect there on the left arm by the elbow. But overall, this one was certainly the nicest of the bunch based on the photos. And that one sold in an auction for $160.39. So 111, 147.50, and 160, all for the same COO, same character, same grade, same case style. So you just never know what you're going to get. But again, this one, in my opinion, was probably the cleanest. And every one of them looked to be like an 80 plus to me. But pretty wide range of prices there. I mean, you're talking like 40% difference in price from the high to low on those. Same seller, Browns. He also had an 85 plus Imperial Commander. This was the curved brown eyes variation, Hong Kong. There's so many different, there's like a thin face, wide face, all that kind of stuff. But this one was an 85 plus, so very high grade. That one sold for $226.50. That's probably about right for an 85 plus. Here was an 85 plus Hong Kong Emperor's Royal Guard. I feel like the Hong Kong and the Taiwan neck and neck for most common, but usually I would think the Taiwan is the most common. So, but Hong Kong's probably second. The no COO easily is the toughest because those appeared on Palatoys or the very rare Tri-Logo. So the no COO you're probably going to pay the most for, with the Hong Kong and the Taiwan kind of neck and neck for that. But even an 85 plus, that still sold for $164.50. So not particularly expensive, even though it was a very, very high grade. Here was an 85 plus no COO Neonum, very clean looking shiny figure there. That one was again a little bit tougher to find versus the Hong Kong. That one sold for $199.28. I would bet an 85 plus Hong Kong Neonum would probably sell for about $30 to $40 less. That would be my guess on that one. It's a lot easier to find that one versus this one. And then next up we had a 85 Han Solo Bespin Hong Kong, brand new case style, pretty looking figure, but again a fairly common figure. It's not particularly hard to find, but even that one still sold for $231.50. So this one I think I wanted to concentrate the discussion on because I have no idea what's going on with this AFA label. No idea. So it was an 85 plus, but it was labeled as the Meccano France release, but then at the top it says Kenner PBP. So if it's the Meccano France release, is it really though? If it's made in the Spanish factory, I don't know why you'd add that. To me, I've seen plenty of these graded by AFA that are Kenner / PBP light green skin Scar COO. That's it. That's all they say. But now they're starting to add Meccano France release, which makes no sense to me if it was manufactured in the Spanish factory, the Spanish PBP factory, which it clearly was, right? It's got the very light green for the gloves and for the head, but I don't know. I have no idea. They've got so many different labels now at AFA for Walrus Man. It is impossible to keep up with them. I mean, I can't keep up with it. But could it have been released on Meccano cardbacks? I guess. But I don't know if it really makes much sense, though, to highlight that it's a Meccano release when it was made in Spain. So you guys know more than I do, most of you who watch these videos. I just present the data and you guys can discuss it. But let me know your thoughts on what you think of how AFA now labels this one. I mean, to me, that last line on the grading label should not be there. If it's a Meccano release, fine. But it was certainly released in Spain if it was manufactured in Spain. So I don't know. I can't make heads or tails of it. But that's still sold for $405. That's a big number. But it is an 85 plus. Beautiful Spanish figure. I mean, it's hard to get an 85 plus for any Spanish figure, as we've talked about ad nauseum, probably to your chagrin. The Spanish figures usually have poor paint applications, and they're poorly sonic welded. They're kind of a mess in terms of the manufacturing process. So to get an 85 plus is very tough to do, admittedly. But I don't know what to make of that label though. Next up was an AFA 85 small head Han Solo. Now we're getting back to old prices, right? For the longest time, the small head Hans AFA 85s were going for $450 or so, and then they kind of dropped back down. I mean, some of them sold for $300 or less, same grade. This is the molded legs, by the way. This is not the painted legs, which is much more rare. So this is a very common figure, although it is the small head Han, which is more desirable. But $406.50 is the highest price I've seen in recent times. You go back 6 to 9 months, $400 to $450 was kind of the going rate. But that's the highest price I've seen for a fairly common small head Han molded legs Hong Kong in a while. Next up was a CAS 85 Blue Saber Luke Snap Cape Hong Kong. So, again, it's a Blue Saber, and we just documented a mint on card that sold for like $1,500. So, there is some desirability with the Blue Sabers. But anyway, that one did sell for $400, and that's a little higher than I expected on that one. I would have expected probably closer to $350. I could see maybe an AFA 85 Blue Saber selling for $400, but this is the first time I've seen a CAS Blue Saber sell that high in a while. but $400 is what it did sell for. That was a buy it now situation. That was not an auction. But I do like how CAS presents these. They present really nicely. The only negative, obviously, is that they take up a lot of shelf space. You know, anytime I do an unboxing, you guys see my Luke Jedis behind it in the background, and I've got 4 different CAS graded Luke Jedis, and they take up a lot of space. I mean, 4 figures take up the equivalent of probably 12 AFA loose graded figures, so that's the only negative. But I do like how they present. And then finally, I had an AFA 85 Emperor mail away, and this one was a subscribers auction, and it was an archival case, blank box with catalog, AFA 85, straight 85s for the sub score. Nice looking example, and shout out, I forgot who it was that sent me this, but I did want to cover it in a market update for him. But that sold for $306 on 34 bids. That's probably about right. You know, Emperor's mailaways are pretty cheap. You know, they're pretty easy to find, but AFA grades those really strict. I mean, I had an overstock example that was pristine. I mean, I'm talking not a blemish on it, and it still only got an 85 with AFA, so very, very tough to do. But $306.01 was the final sales price, free shipping on that one. So anyway, just some more data points. These were all fairly common items, except I think maybe the Walrus Man. You could argue that that's not common only because of AFA's new label. I can't make it. I'm still shaking my head about that, but maybe some of you guys who are Walrus Man experts can fill me in as to why they do that now. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.